All right, now we're going to get into things that are a little bit more interesting. Kingdom Protista, if you remember from the beginning of the school year, when we used the microscopes to look at samples from the pond water, these guys like to swim around. All right, so they're going to be found in water. Protista live in aquatic environments, which means water. It can be salt water or fresh water, doesn't matter. Okay, these guys are found everywhere that you find water. Now, they're the first species to have organized cell, to have their stuff, their DNA in a nucleus, and have all their other cell processes packaged nice into organelles. These are the first guys in the evolutionary timeline to evolve the nucleus. So eukaryotic, right, means has a nucleus and organelles. Their cell surface can have a cell wall made of cellulose, or it might only have a cell membrane. So protists fall into three categories. They can be plant-like, they can be mushroom-like, or fungi-like, and they can be animal-like. The two that we really looked at were the amoeba and the paramecium. And if you remember, the paramecia was the little guy with the tiny little hairs all over him, and we saw him just darting, just zipping around under the microscopes. And then the amoeba was this blobby looking one with the nucleus, right? You probably saw the nucleus here too. And this one is the one that just kind of slides across the surface of the slide that we were looking at. You also watch this guy kind of take in and eat a paramecium. So a paramecium in relation to an amoeba is probably about that big. Okay, really tiny. Right, so those are the two that protists that we talked about. They are single-celled things. And their nutrition, meaning they are heterotrophic, and we already learned that you get your food from a different source, so you have to eat food. And they do this by phagocytosis. Phagocytosis is when, just like we saw in the amoeba, when that cell membrane opens and it allows the paramecium inside, and then the cell membrane just closes right around it. Okay, so the paramecium is now in there. So this cell literally took in this tiny paramecium by just opening the protein channels in the cell membrane, eating it, and then closing around it. Okay, so that's phagocytosis. It means to eat. All right. These guys, all right, these are going to be the animal-like ones. All right, phagocytosis, they're eating. This is animal-like. But some of them are plant-like, and so they are going to be autotrophic, using the process of photosynthesis, okay, making your own food from sunlight. And the fungi-like ones, we'll get to that in a second, they are also heterotrophic, but they don't eat stuff. They secrete enzymes and dissolve it and then suck it in through diffusion and osmosis. Again, diffusion and osmosis is when water just goes into a cell and wastes come out. Nutrients go in, wastes come out. Kingdom fungi. These are your mushrooms. Okay. They are eukaryotic, which means they have a nucleus and they have membrane-bound organelles. The cell surface has a cell wall, but it's not made of cellulose like we're used to. This is cellulose. We all know what plants feel like, what bark and wood feels like. All right, this is different. This is called chitin. If you've ever touched a mushroom, all right, they kind of, they look like this. You can break them apart. They're really, some of them are very nutritious, some of them will kill you. But the feeling of mushrooms, they're squishier, they're airier, they're lighter. It's not hard like a plant cell. So chitin is similar to a plant cell wall. It's just lighter and airier. There's more space in there because it's made out of a different chemical. Okay, it's made out of chitin. body plan, they're multicellular, right? It takes many, many cells working together to build a mushroom, right? So many cells, right? So I have, and obviously this is not to scale, there's millions and millions and millions of cells, but cell, 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 all right? So I'm putting many, 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 many cells together to build this creature, all right, this organism. Okay, they're heterotrophic by secreting enzymes to digest something. Okay, so you're going to generally find mushrooms growing on a fallen tree log, perhaps. Okay, well, these mushrooms have tiny little root-like stuff, and they're called hyphae, and they infect the entire log. You'll see new mushrooms start to grow all over stuff. Okay. But what this is, these are secreting digestive enzymes, just like your stomach acid, and so it's literally digesting this log, and then it sucks up the nutrients through its root-like hyphae, right? So these guys digest stuff just like we do. So there's a link right there. There's a genetic link. We digest our food, so do they. So how closely related are we to mushrooms? Are we more closely related to mushrooms than mushrooms are to plants? And the answer is yes, and we'll get into that. But we're very similar to mushrooms, believe it or not. Okay. Anyway, they're heterotrophic. They have to eat food, but they don't take it in through phagocytosis. They're not opening up and eating something. Instead, they're secreting enzymes, it digests that log or whatever it is they're laying on, and then they suck it up. A lot of people think that mushrooms like to live where stuff is rotting, but that's not the case. Mushrooms are doing the rotting. They're making the log rot. So mushroom is nature's recyclers. All right, now we're getting into kingdom Plantae. So again, everything we find on Earth is going to fall into one of these 6 categories. Okay. How do we know that plants and mushrooms aren't the same thing? Well, because we can look at them, we see what they do, and we see that they're so different that we put them in 2 separate categories. Okay. Plants are eukaryotic, meaning they have a nucleus and they have organelles. The cell surface has a cell wall made of cellulose. Cellulose is wood, all right? We call it wood, and we can make paper out of it and cardboard. If you've ever knocked on a door, that's what cellulose feels like. Okay? Plants are also multicellular. We've looked at plants. When we looked at them, you saw many boxes. All right? They were generally green because they have chloroplasts. All right, so they have a cell membrane also inside of each of these cell walls, okay, etc. I'm not going to draw them all. And then you have these little green discs floating around. Those are chloroplasts. Those are organelles. They are packaged. The green stuff is packaged. It's not just all throughout. Okay, so they are eukaryotic. They have cell walls made of cellulose. So this cell wall right here outside is cellulose. Okay, they're multicellular. There are many cells. Plants only get their energy by making their own food. Okay, and they do this by a process called photosynthesis. To synthesize, to make trophic food by themselves from the light, from the sun, okay? So whenever you see these words in science, you really can dissect them and break them down to see what they mean. All right, so photosynthesis, synthesis to make, autotrophic, you're making food by yourself and you're using sunlight to do it. Examples of plants are flowers, grass, trees, etc. Okay? And then finally, we're going to have the last kingdom. This is the kingdom that you and I fall into. We are animals. All right. We're eukaryotic. I scraped your cheek cells and looked at them underneath a microscope. You saw the nucleus in there. So when you looked at your own cheek cells, they were kind of round. You saw some shading. You saw the nucleus in there. Okay. Everything else was too small to see. You probably just saw, just stuff in there, but too small to see what it actually was with our microscopes. Okay. We don't have cell walls. When I knock on myself, I don't sound like a door. I don't feel like paper. All right. I don't have any cell walls. We have cell membranes only. There are many cells that make us up. We have skin cells, liver cells, heart cells, hair follicle cells, kidney cells, blood cells, white blood cells. We have all sorts of cells that make us up. And we have to eat food. All right? We can't lay out in the sun and make our own energy. I can't drink a gallon of sulfuric acid and get energy from that. I get killed from that. So the only way that I can get food is if I eat stuff. Examples of animals: humans, dogs, tigers, insects, fish, sharks, whales, birds, alligators. Okay? So anything that's not a plant, anything that's not a mushroom, anything that's not a bacteria, and anything that's not a protist is going to be an animal. That's the end of video lesson 1. I do want you to fill out your kingdom chart and start working on your notes. Half of those notes should be filled out by this point. So half of your notes page should be done, and you should have your kingdom worksheet done. It's the chart, the kingdom chart. You should have this done and submitted by Wednesday. So this is the only thing that's due Wednesday. On Wednesday, you're going to watch the second half of this video and then complete the rest of the worksheets. All right, guys, I miss you terribly. I hope this helps. Let me know if you need anything. See you soon.